Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Beat Teacher Burnout. I'm really pleased today to have a guest who is so full of joy and positiveness, if that's a word, and you will be so energized about life by the end of this podcast, because when I met Lucy, we were at a nursery conference and she was so full of enthusiasm and ideas and energy. And I just loved the fact that I had connected with her. So I just wanted to share her joy of life and her experience with all of you, because she has the most beautiful way of managing life and sharing that with others. So hello, Lucy. It's
Wow.
really nice to see you. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Rowena, do I even have to? I mean, like, you literally just made like the most beautiful introduction about myself. Yeah, well, I don't even know what to say. I'm so honored. Wow. And so touched. So thank you. Yeah, my name is Lucy Gibson. Look me up. and hopefully everything that you said, Rowena, people get to see it as well. So yeah, I call myself an educator and spaces specialist. I think that's pretty much what kind of like defines my role. But yeah, and I'm based in Southampton in the UK, and I'm actually from São Paulo, Brazil. That's why I come with an accent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Slight
Yeah.
accent. Yeah, I love it. So Lucy actually has 3 degrees. She is incredibly experienced, has a lot of credentials behind her name, and also a range of experience across the world. And I suppose today we're going to be looking at more than just educator stress. We're going to look at the whole of life, because Lucy looks at the whole person when she works now. She's very, very much in love with the Montessori approach, but she also works with families to support them and looks at how to do life, not just work stress, but home stress and home being the best version of you for yourself and your family, which is so aligned with me. Lucy, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience? I suppose, especially a little while ago when you were still living abroad, and your experience of stress.
Yes. So as I said, I come from São Paulo, which is it's a wonderful city. It's the largest city in Brazil and actually one of the largest in the whole of South and Central America, Latin America. And it's as wonderful as it can be so stressful. So there's lots of urban violence, unfortunately. Traffic is just mad. Cost of living is just it's unfair. So everything you need to fight a lot harder, and you need to work a lot harder to get the things that here in the UK it's just a lot easier for you to accomplish. So as I said, I was born and raised in São Paulo, so I was always alert. So everything that I did in my life, especially in my adult life, was around, I had to just ask myself the one question: is this safe? So if I had to find a job in a school, so I taught for 15 years, mostly my whole professional life in Brazil was working in schools. So I would always have to think, is that school in a safe area? Is my route from my home to the school, is that safe? And are the times that I get there, are those safe times as well? And then because I would go to university as well, because as I said, like 3 degrees, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So I also had to think, because I would attend night lectures. So again, where I'm parking the car, is it safe? Is it not? Is it safe for me to drive back home at 11 p.m., half 11 p.m.? And then how about, because I was living in a building, in an apartment building, which is considered to be safer than living in houses. So even like the wait time when you're in the car and the gates are opening for you to enter your building, that is really tense as well. So you always have to be aware of the surroundings. So everything that I did, even the car that I would buy, I had to think, wait, is that too flashy? Is this going to, am I going to come across as someone from a different economic level than I actually am? Because I'm very middle class, I'm very working class. So I always had to think, am I safe? Because I was usually by myself. So going to from home to school, from school to university. And even on weekends and for social events, everything I had to answer yes to that one question: am I safe? And obviously that comes with so much stress, because every time you're out and about, you have to just look over your shoulder and scan the whole room, because that's how it is, unfortunately. And people are going to say, oh, but London is dangerous. It's really not compared to São Paulo. It's completely different. It's completely different. So yeah, it is really stressful. And that's why we left.
My goodness.
That's why we left.
Okay, so you have a whole different experience of a level of stress that we don't encounter here. So I guess where you now live in the UK, and you don't have that hyper vigilant level of stress for safety, how do you manage your stress of living here in the UK in a Western society which has very different stresses? How do you manage your stress levels now? Because you have a slightly different perspective on stress, don't you?
Yes, because my stress, the stress that I used to have back home, was basically about my physical integrity and my life. It was higher risk. Whereas here in the UK, the stress levels are more about your mental health and your mental well-being rather than anything else. I lived in London for a year, and I know that it felt very rushed, but to me it didn't feel like it, because I already came from São Paulo. So to me, London was, hey, this is pretty much like São Paulo, but it's neat and it's a lot safer. But then, like, when we moved here to Southampton and I launched my own business, there's been like a massive career change. Then my stress became my part of my business in a way, because now I had to find clients. I had to build everything from scratch. I had to build my website, create my social media channels, and just do so much in order for me to be able to pay my bills, that then I got super, super busy, just, like trying to get the word out there. So that's the kind of stress that I have today. It's kind of like a work related stress. Not in a, can I say that it's not in a bad way, because I'm doing something that I really, really love. But I always need to be very mindful of how much time I'm actually putting into this activity, so I don't burn myself out.
Okay, so I love that you see your stress so differently because it's something you're passionate about. Because a lot of people working in any part of education are so passionate, because we're there for the kids, aren't we, at the end of the day? And we are so passionate, and you will understand that. So how do you look after yourself? Give us a couple of examples of how you would manage your day, because you see stress, but you do approach
Yeah.
it differently, but you are very intentional, aren't you?
I'm crazy intentional, Rowena. I'm just so intentional. And this is such a big part of my business as well. So I try to bring that, to raise the awareness about how tiny habits that we build around our lives can make such a great difference at the end of the day. So one of the things that I do, which does help me with stress, is making sure that I have a healthy diet. Again, because I moved from São Paulo here to London and then to Southampton, I can now get to cycle by myself, which is amazing. I would
Oh,
never be able to do something like this in São Paulo, ever, for so many reasons. So I try as much as possible to cycle to meetings and to my clients' homes. I always try to cycle or walk. I do have a car, but I try to use it as little as possible. So this is another thing that I try to do as much as possible. I try to move myself in a way that doesn't really make me waste my time, because I'm time poor. That's the reality. I'm really time poor. So I need to optimize my time as much as possible. I take sleep very seriously. So to me, 10:30, that's it. It's my time. I rarely go to bed later than 10:30. One other thing that I really do make sure that happens basically every day, I sit down for a meal with my husband. and it's in the evening, right? Because we can't eat lunch together. So I always make sure that I've got that family time. So I'm not a mom and I'm here, but just me and my husband, we're here together in the UK. So I always make sure that we've got that family time every evening. So yeah, so it's healthy diet, it's movement, it's sleep, it's family time. And then I just basically just try to create my routine around these things. So I'm not rushing myself. So I get to have some quality time, even if that doesn't mean having the whole day to myself. But I always try to, even when what we were talking before we started the recording, I take the scenic route. I take the scenic route. It makes a massive
Yeah.
difference.
So there is a level of intention, isn't there, about your
Yeah.
approach to life and
Yeah.
how I think you said to me that on the way back to come to this meeting to record here, you were on your bike, but you took the
Yeah.
longer route so that you made sure you saw nature. And
Yes.
actually, there was such a, yes, you are very consistently looking out for yourself,
Yes.
even if it takes a bit longer.
So
Yeah.
on the way
Okay,
back,
so
because I cycled through 4 different parks.
okay, I love that. Okay, so really going for it. So Lucy, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and how you use your skills to support both educators and families.
Yeah, so people always say, "Oh, you shouldn't say that you work with everyone," but I do. I work with everyone. I mean, everyone deserves a little bit more intentionality in life. Everyone deserves to simplify their spaces a lot more. And one of the biggest things that I do to support people, so it can be families, it can be individuals, it can be educators. Don't say anyone, but it is anyone, okay? One of the things that I love doing, and that is also part of the whole Montessori triad, is to work in the prepared environment. So I want to make sure that first and foremost, the space is working for them. And by space, I mean any physical environment. It can be your work, it can be your workplace, it can be your home, it can be your school, it can be a community space, it can be a radio station, right? Which is what I'm currently doing. I'm currently working on revamping an entire radio station. It starts with the physical space, but that's not where it ends. But that's where changes start to be a bit more visible, actually, a lot more visible. By simplifying the space, we get to change our behavior because we're less stressed. There's less sensory overload. There's less visual clutter. There's less chaos in general because now all of a sudden you can find the things you were looking for. The spaces are hopefully right. If you want to upkeep, they're cleaner, they're more pleasant for you to be around, and you only keep the things that really matter to you. And I think that this is key. And this is a lesson that I learned kind of the hard way because when I had to move here to the UK, well, obviously it was a choice, but when we moved here to the UK, I only had a large 32-kilo suitcase and a cabin suitcase to pack my whole life. So I had to be extremely intentional about the things that I wanted to bring with me. And that's when I learned about the importance of decluttering and having fewer belongings and just having the ones that really matter to you. And that's been a game changer.
Wow. Okay, so I'd really like to dig into this because when I had an office in school, it was quite busy, shall we say, and probably some people would say a little bit, looked a bit disorganized, but I knew where everything was. And at home
Okay, that's
around
good.
me, I know where things are, but it's probably not what you would want. What would you do if you came into my workspace, my home space? How would you start? What questions would you ask?
The first question I would ask is what's bothering you the most? What's annoying you the most? And that's where we were going to start because we need to create change where it kind of like triggers something in a person because then they're more encouraged to work on it and to change it. And once that area has been worked on, and now they can see the difference because they said like that used to be a stressor for me every single day and now it's not, then they just feel the difference. And now they feel encouraged to work in other spaces as well and to just perfect that process that we've been working on. And it's not a one and done thing. And it's not something that happens in a day. It's a process and it's worth every second of it.
What sort of answers to questions do you get from really busy? I'm just thinking of most of the people who are listening to this, they're executive heads, they're head teachers, they're
Yeah.
nursery owners, they're managers, they're leaders, and there's plenty of other people listening, but they're all busy. I mean, I spoke to a nursery practitioner this morning who went in at 7:30 yesterday and got home at 6:30 because she left at 6. I mean, we're talking people working long days
Yeah.
here. What are they saying about what bothers them about their spaces?
Well, if it's in their homes, I would say it's usually laundry that piles up. If they have kids, it's usually getting out the door in the morning. So morning routines for sure. And just not being able to find the things that they're looking for on a daily basis, like the car keys or the clothes that they want to wear, but they have no idea what they are. And it's funny because I want to say in almost every session, Rowena, whenever I'm working with a client, because I never work like for a whole session by myself because I always need the person's input as well. So whenever I'm with the client, there's usually the one sentence that they say, it's, I've been looking all over for it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. And what
Yeah.
about at work? What's the
So
feedback you get at work?
at work, they feel that they're not being productive. They feel that the systems are a bit clunky and it's not streamlined enough. So they go like, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like there's something here that doesn't feel right, but I can't really pinpoint what's happening. Or I do look, because I bring the Montessori approach into my business, I try to observe as well. And I try to just be there, kind of like a fly on the wall, just understanding the space and understanding how they operate around the space. And then I always find something that is not working and that has potential to work. But it's almost like I can find those bumps on the road. And then by identifying them, it's much easier for us to adjust course and to change things. And again, it works. I'll tell you what, rule number one for people to work with me, Rowena, they have to be open-minded. They have to be ready to maybe change something that they're doing or to learn something different, or else it just doesn't work. So it's always like being open to feedback. And as you know me, I would never be harsh to someone. I would never be judgmental. I'm there to help. I'm there to help and I love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and usually like when I work with clients, they're really happy with me, bless them, because they just feel comfortable. And we usually have like a really good relationship.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. If you came into my school, my nursery, my classroom, would you be asking the same question? What is bothering you about this space?
Not necessarily. I would just ask them in general, what is bothering you? And then again, like in most cases, they're going to say it's the children's behavior.
Hmm.
And that's going to be quite telling for me as well, because then I can just look at the children and see what is keeping the children from thriving. And then again, it's just like through observation, I can see what's happening. And I can see as well if the environment is actually prepared for those children to become independent, for them to be good problem solvers, for them to be creative. So all of the wonderful life skills that we really want children to develop, I want to make sure that the environment is giving them that, and that us, the adults, that we are again like prepared enough to be able to step away when we have to and just let the children be able to solve that problem. And then again, it's just but it does come through observations. I have to sit down and I have to see, and I have to read the room, and I have to understand the dynamics. Because oftentimes, Rowena, which is really interesting, people come to me again, like it doesn't really matter if they're coming, like as a teacher or as a parent or as a solo individual, it doesn't matter. They usually come to me with one problem, and then I say, oh, actually that one problem, this is the root of it. So by working in the root of the problem, we see that it's actually not that was just like the response to a bigger issue. And again, it's if they're open to learning new things, and if they're willing to make changes, and to also like put in the effort, because although it's simple, it does require some effort and consistency. I always tell people consistency is what is going to ensure your success. Just keep on showing up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you what might be a difficult question, which is if you went into a setting and the what is bothering you the most question is asked, and they say, actually, it is the behavior that is our biggest challenge
Yeah.
right now. Give us an example of what you've done that has to the space, to the people there. What have you done or suggested that has made a difference? Give us a hands-on example, what that looks like in practice.
All right. So one of the things that I see the most in schools is us adults helping children unnecessarily. And it's kind of like micromanaging children as well. And obviously, I mean, imagine if you are being micromanaged. Imagine if people are doing things for you that you know you're fully capable of either A, learning or doing it, right? So it's just the behavior is communication. That is just a child trying to tell them something's off and I need help. That's it. That's behavior. Behavior is communication. So I would say we work. So again, like I need to work in the space to make sure that children have order in the space, that the space is not overwhelming the child, that it's not very busy. And again, just like coming back to Montessori principles of having everything at the child on the child's height, making sure that there's not a lot of visual clutter around the classroom. And it's a cultural thing, because back home I worked at international schools, so American and British, and all my days the walls were busy. The walls were so busy. And as much as we like to make sure that the information is all out there, on a daily basis, it just creates mental chaos. So it doesn't really work for the purposes that we were aiming for. So it's about reducing the noise. It's about reducing the visual overwhelm and all the sensory overloads that comes with a very busy classroom, and allowing children to problem solve instead of us just coming up with a solution to whatever problem that is. Allowing children to struggle a bit, to make sure that we're giving them time to do something as simple as to put their shoes on. We don't have to do it for them if we know they're capable of doing it for themselves. I've seen several classrooms where the teachers, they were just peeling bananas for 4 or 5 year olds because it was quicker. We're taking life skills away from them because it sends the message to the children that they're incapable of doing these things for themselves.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. We could talk about this for hours. Before we finish, I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
How do you manage to be so full of joy and yet so busy?
I love this, Rowena. Thank you. I think it's because first of all, I found my purpose. I didn't know that I could still work with families and children and with so many other people after I stopped teaching. So I would say having a purpose in life and making sure that I can contribute. I mean, to me, that sense of contribution is massive and it really fills my cup. So I would say making sure that I am contributing to my society, that is a big thing. And the other thing is to just be present and make sure that I appreciate all the small beauties in life and that I'm grateful for being here, for being alive. It's the small but not so small things in life. It's the being grateful because you woke up. It's the being grateful because I can cycle, or because I can walk if I want to, and because I have a wonderful meal with my husband at night. And all of these things, they add up. And by spotting beauty and positivity and focusing on the good people instead of the ones who just like make us feel so depressed, even though I'm super busy doing things that I love, and I'm appreciating just, yeah, everything that life gives me. So that's why, like, I take the scenic route, Rowena, literally. And then I'm watching the birds, I'm looking at the trees, I'm appreciating nature. Yeah, and I'm just, yeah, and this is where my energy comes from, just life itself.
I love that. People need more of Lucy in their lives. I can tell you all that. And I guess
Thank
that,
you.
so to summarize that, what you're really saying is you have a very strong why. You're passionate about
Yeah,
your why and your purpose. And you're also very intentional about having gratitude and appreciation in your life. And, those are both really key, aren't they, for positive outlook on life, for good well-being, and for,
yeah,
even just looking after ourselves. Lucy,
yeah.
thank you. If people want to find out more about you, where's the best place for them to connect or investigate?
I would say just find me on through my website. So it's positivelysimple.org. So yeah, and then they can just find everything else from there. And they can get in touch with me. They can book a call with me. They can find me on my socials. Yeah, literally everything's on my website. And thank you
Okay,
so
I'll
much,
put that in the
Rowena.
show
It's been
notes so people can
lovely.
find it.
Yeah.
It's been great to chat. Lucy, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. See you next
Thank you so
time.
much for having me.
Thanks for listening. I hope you took something of value from today. If you want to connect, I'm at rowenahicks.com, or I have a Facebook group, which is Preventing Teacher Burnout. So I look forward to connecting to you at one of those.